You've mentioned a few times three, like almost the power of three, like three affirmations that we can kind of work on three areas of our life quarterly, like three goals. What it's at the sweet spot. Like it's if I wanted to get better, should I focus on around three areas or three affirmations or three things? Anything more than that is it more likely that we'll not be able to get to all of them, or that our energy or our focus will be scattered?
Great question. Everybody's a little different. Everybody has a different capacity. Like when I was talking about growth objectives, three areas, and like one might be a skill area, one might be a habit area, and one might be a mindset area. I think it's hard to work on three skills at the same time. It's hard to work on three habits at the same time. But if we're looking at different areas, okay, I need to improve my mindset in this area. I blame too much. I make too many excuses. I got to be more aware of it. In fact, I'm going to come up with a couple affirmations. I renounce excuses and I own it, that are going to rewire my mind that that's the person I want to become. And I'm going to really work on that. And then this skill, it's really not a skill. It's an ability. I got to turn it into a skill. It's the weakest part of my game. All right. Because an ability is the capacity to perform a task. A skill is the ability to perform a task particularly well. So a lot of us have abilities that aren't skills. So I'm going to really put in extra reps. I'm never going to get great at anything I don't do a lot. I have to put in the reps. I have to put in the repetition, and good reps, not just doing it to do it. And then this habit is holding me back. I've got to replace it with something better. I binge on Netflix 4 hours a night. Okay. And that is not a neutral use of my time. I could be maybe just watching 2 hours of it and spending another 2 hours reviewing my goals, practicing, getting in shape, doing something else. And so I've got to develop a habit. So I think in that context, three is really manageable. I think three affirmations is very, now I've added a lot over the years. I mean, I have a lot of issues. So I have a lot of different areas where I'm
You
trying
got
to
a whole
improve.
repertoire that you
I
can
think,
pull on. Yeah.
yeah, I'll
All of us
start
do.
with three. Three, yeah. Well, three's manageable. Three is manageable. It's, people say, well, I have 10 priorities. And really you have none, because you can't have 10 of something that you call a priority. It totally destroys the whole concept of it being a priority if there are 10 of them. So what I like about three, it narrows your focus. And you're not going to get better at everything overnight. But listen, you can get better at a lot over time. And the time is going to pass anyway. So let's be intentional with how we use it. And that's why I like intentional growth objectives and intentional mindset routine. I'm not leaving it to chance. But yeah, it's different for everybody. But if you do three the way I'm talking about, I think you find it, you don't get overwhelmed. You're more likely to stick with it and actually see some good results from it.
Dave, you talk a lot about the power of intentional breathing and the power of the breath to kind of positively impact all aspects of our lives, our physiology, our mental states, all the rest of that. Maybe let's just share with the listeners your take on how powerful breathing is, and maybe one or two kind of exercises to that we could teach our kids and teach ourselves to be able to breathe more intentionally.
I have a chapter on this in the book, and it's a short chapter, but it impacts so much. People don't understand breathing. And it's interesting. Don't know if you're a baseball fan, but back when the Chicago Cubs finally won the World Series, it's
Yeah,
like it'd been over
big deal.
100 years.
Yeah.
They actually hired a mental skills trainer to work with the players that year. His name was Ken Revisa, and Ken is since deceased, but I've studied his work. He just was a really, really bright guy. And they asked the players after the season, what's the number one thing you learned from Ken? They said, we learned how to breathe. He said, what do you mean you learned how to breathe? You've been breathing since you were born. Yeah, but not intentionally. And what I talk about in the book is when you breathe in through the nose, 18% more oxygen gets to the brain. It's being aware of that. That helps you think more clearly. Technically, when we get tense, we stop breathing. Okay. And I'm a martial artist, and you see it on the mat. People are getting beat and they stop breathing, which is the worst thing they can do, because now they're not thinking clearly, nor are they releasing tension. So when you inhale through the nose, 18% more oxygen gets to the brain. When you exhale through the mouth, that gets the tension out. And so it's always wanting to do that high stakes something after the exhale, after the tension is gone. The players that I work with, they're at the free throw line a lot. You can win games on basketball, or you can lose games at the free throw line. The ones that have been trained well, you'll watch their breathing. Watch their breathing. They'll take that deep inhale, and then after they exhale, they'll put up the shot. They want to put up the shot after the tension is gone. Talk to a great marksman with a rifle or a great archer. They always pull the trigger or release the bow after the exhale. And so it's learning how to do this, and it keeps you in the moment. This is one of the wins I do in the morning. I share a breathing technique in the book called 4462 times 6. I learned it from the Navy SEALs, and it takes about 2.5 minutes. I do it 6 times a day. It's easy to do. You just stack it with 6 other things that you do. And what it does is it creates the conditioning to where you're automatically doing it. Like I told you when we were talking before that I was able to practice some intentional breathing in traffic on the way to work today. So somebody cuts you off. The natural thing is to get tense. You stop breathing, you honk the horn, you do something foolish. It's just taking a couple deep breaths and it's passed. And it's, if I'm going to hold someone accountable in my office today, if I'm going to have that tough conversation with them, you're going to hold your kid accountable. You want to be thinking clearly and you want the tension to be out. Okay. And you want to be in the moment. So you do a couple of those deep breaths. So the 4462, it's a deep inhale through the nose for a count of 4. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. You totally fill yourself up with oxygen. Then you hold it for 4. That expands your lung capacity, by the way. It also keeps you in the moment.